Well, today on Civically Minded, it's kind of back at it. It's going to be a little bit of a rambling video, just some thoughts off the cuff, some thoughts about what's been going on in my life the last week or so and what I've been really thinking and dwelling on a lot. And I hope is as encouraging a reminder for you as it has been for me and a few updates as well. So stick around for this odd and hopefully encouraging episode of Civically Minded. Well, welcome back to Civically Minded. I'm your host, Corey Wing, and I'm really saying welcome back to myself as much as I am to you, my viewer. I've taken the last week or a little longer than a week actually off and haven't put out anything. Today is Tuesday, September the 3rd, and it's the day after Labor Day. So happy belated Labor Day to all of my viewers here in the States. And my kids started school today. Today was the first day of school for the fall, new school year. They go to a homeschool co-op, and so they start a little later and they end a little earlier. But today was the first day of school, so my wife and I got to do all the fun, exciting things of the first day of school. We were, planning for last night, made sure that the lunches were packed and the little snacks and new book bags and lunch pails and new shoes and all the stuff that parents do, of course, for your kids. And then this morning, of course, especially moms, we did all the first day of school pictures and sent them to the grandparents and all of that wonderful stuff. And it truly is wonderful. The pictures were adorable. Our daughter is just today starting the third grade. Our son is starting kindergarten, and then we have a little daughter who's not quite two yet, who's still in daycare. So it was a great morning. A lot of activity. We all woke up much earlier than we have had to been waking up for the last few months. So that was less than ideal, but it was a great first day of school. And of course, like many parents, we spent this last week or so doing that last big hurrah vacation before school starts, kind of kicking off the school year and ending the summer with one last vacation. So we're no different than anybody else. We like to do those things too. And so we took our family on vacation last week and we had a wonderful time, made some great memories, and got to unplug. And I guess that's what I want to talk just a little bit about today. It's important as human beings that we do unplug. We've talked on this channel, and I had an episode a couple months back with a good friend of mine named Sam Wood, who runs a ministry that does a lot of family and other types of counseling. And in that episode, and if you've not watched it, I'll put a link in the comment section below and also in the description box. If you've not watched that, he talks about how Christian depression and anxiety is one of the fastest growing trends he sees in uh, his world of counseling and Christian counseling and things. And that about 50% of all the people that they talk to, him, his wife, and him, um, are dealing with Christian depression. And it seems to be everywhere. And when you do a channel like mine that is really leans heavily into politics and current events and civil engagement, and a lot of the things that I touch on here on Civically Minded, it can be easy to get distracted. It can be easy to get swallowed up in the news of the day, just consuming as much media and news as I have to again kind of report it back to you and engage with it. I watch a lot of news. I read a lot of stories. I try to keep up as best as I can and then touch on the things that I think are worthy of note. But because of that, it really can kind of start to make you feel gross and dirty and anxious. And of course, the Bible has much to say about anxiety. It actually says it's a sin. And so as Christians, we need to be very cautious about giving ourselves over to those types of feelings. The Lord says that we can cast all of our burdens and cares on Him because He cares for us. And of course, that we can go to Him with all types of supplications and prayers because, again, He is looking out for us. He's our Heavenly Father. He'll bear those burdens on our behalf. But one of the other great reminders that God showed me this last week while I was just able to unplug and kind of get away was a psalm that I'm pretty familiar with. And the verse that I'm going to quote almost all of you at some point in time have certainly heard, and many of you have probably committed to memory, or at least the first part. Most of you may not have even heard the second part of this verse. It's out of Psalm chapter 46, and it's in verse 10. And I want to read it here for you. And the first part, like I said, most of you might have committed to memory as a little axiom that you have in the back of your mind. It says, "Be still and know that I am God." Again, most of you will know that verse, or at least you've heard it. The second part, which is rarely quoted, says, "I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." And I love the declarative and definitive nature of that verse. The psalmist is saying, look, slow down. I think he's talking to himself, but of course he's talking to all of us as well. Slow down and allow yourself to be reminded that God is in control of all of this. There's nothing that happens that isn't filtered through his providential sovereignty. He's got this. So while Germany has a new populist movement that's happening there, and America's politics are seemingly in chaos, we've got who knows what candidate will be next week. I mean, because it's changed so rapidly in the last few weeks, and we had an assassination attempt that apparently didn't even happen because you don't hear that talked about anymore, though they're still talking about January 6th years later. It can be very easy to look at all of the chaos and go, what is going on? A Christian school teacher by the name of Enoch Burke was just arrested, I think yesterday or the day before in Ireland, because he wouldn't affirm transgender ideology in Ireland, which historically was a pretty strong Christian nation. Yes, they had their bickering and fighting between Catholic and Protestant, and that's putting it mildly. But those are at least both Christian worldviews. How did they get from that to arresting a Christian school teacher because he won't bow the knee to transgenderism? It is easy to look at all of this and go, what's happening? How have we been asleep at the wheel for so long that in most of the West, even with these populist movements happening in places like Germany and Italy and even in England, and certainly here in America, we've been asleep at the wheel for so long that the globalists and the Marxists and the LGBTQ mafia and all of their allies, they're really entrenched. It's going to take quite a bit of resistance and tenacity on our part to uproot them and try to reclaim society for any kind of Christian values and certainly for Christ. But the reminder from the psalmist here is that we should be still and remind ourselves that he indeed is God and that he will be exalted among the nations and he will be exalted among the people. What an awesome reminder. I hope you find that as encouraging as I found it this week as I unplugged and was able to just kind of think on that. I needed it. I really did. Now to a couple updates. I wasn't completely, entirely unplugged while I was gone because while I was gone, I had animation company looking at my logo and trying to do what we call a bump intro. I've had one for a while. It's where the little clip of the song plays between my intro and then the body of the actual video that you're currently watching, or any of my videos for that matter that aren't shorts. And so in this video and all subsequent videos moving forward, it will be a new intro bump. Same song, which, by the way, if you didn't know, is a song that I wrote the lyrics to, and a friend of mine named Corey Davis wrote the music to, probably back in 1996 or 97. I toured with a Christian rock band with the aforementioned gentleman and a couple other guys, and we toured and played Christian music. So that is a song I wrote called "The Service of Living." If you've ever wondered where that song came from, if you're interested in a little more information about that, let me know in the comments section, or you can always email me at cwing@civicallyminded.com. But new logo intro bump. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Please, again, in the comments section below, let me know if you like it, if you think it's cheesy, if you liked the previous one. I really like the new one. I hope you do too. But secondarily, now that I'm back from vacation and a little bit reinvigorated, it's time to get back to work. Certainly back to work at the church where I'm on staff, but also the seminary that I'm currently going to. I've got some final and a final exam and a final paper in one class. I've got another class starting in about a week. I've got a missions committee meeting on Thursday night with the presbytery that I'm a part of. And here on Civically Minded, it's time to get back to work. And I'm feeling very refreshed and rejuvenated. And I'm excited about where things are going from here. So, just a little bit of an insight. I'm going to reach back out to Keith Foskey. I'm going to hit record this time and hopefully get that interview with Keith Foskey back up in the next week or two. I've got an interview with pastor and missionary who was just recently at our church, gentleman by the name of Pastor Sean Hurry. I've talked to him about coming on in the next couple of weeks as well. He's a missionary in South Africa. And to remind us, to give us a bigger picture of what God's doing, not just in our backyard, but what God's doing all over the world. I think it's a wonderful reminder to know that while the West seems to be crumbling, God is expanding his kingdom in other parts of the world in huge ways. And I think it's going to bless and encourage you. I've got another friend who's a pastor about 45 minutes an hour away from me who I'm trying to connect with. And just recently, I connected with Rosaria Butterfield. I went a couple of weeks ago on a Saturday to a local church that's run by a friend of mine, and he was hosting a symposium with Dr. Butterfield and another gentleman. And my wife and my kids and I were able to go and listen to Dr. Butterfield. I've heard her before, but what a blessing she always is. And then we were able to connect a little bit after the fact. I'm hoping to reach out to her as well and beg and plead and cajole her to come on the channel and let my audience um, be exposed to the amazing testimony that Rosaria has and the passion that she has for pushing back against the five lies of our anti Christian age. That's kind of a recap of the talk that I got to hear, but it's also a recap of her most recent book. And I'm hoping to have her on in the next, 2, 3, 4 weeks and expose some of you who may have never heard of her to what an amazing woman and a wonderful saint of the Lord. She's a pastor's wife, a mother, a grandmother, and I'm just looking forward to some of you hearing what she has to say for the very first time. So that's a little bit about what's coming up in the coming weeks. And of course, I'll throw some shorts in and things like that as they come up and sermons or anything else like I always do. But I am excited about what God's doing here at Civically Minded. I'm excited that you're along for the ride. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like, comment, share this with someone else. It really does help with the algorithm, but it also just encourages me. And I do try to respond to as many of the comments as I can. I read every single one of them. I really do. And merchandise. I know I talked about that a while back. I've got some new merchandise in. You can't see it. It's off frame. That was strategic because my office looks like a retail store at the moment. I've got some new mugs and some hats and t-shirts and sweatshirts and some stickers and other things. If you're interested in any civically minded merchandise, please comment below. Or again, you can always reach out to me at cwing@civicallyminded.com. I'm excited to be back. I hope my little encouragement today was an encouragement to you. And I hope you're also looking forward to some of these things that I've got coming for you real soon. Until next time, for Civically Minded, I'm Corey Wing. God bless and take care.